Hey guys, Todd here. Today we're going to install the AVS vent visors on the 2023 Ford Super Duty. For this installation, we want to first thoroughly wash and dry the area of the truck where we'll be installing our visors using only soap and water. We'll be using the alcohol prep pads included in our kit, and we've also got some extra isopropyl alcohol. And we'll be using a plastic pry tool. Let's go ahead and get started. Now you want to make sure you start off with the truck completely and thoroughly clean. Just use soap and water. Don't use any kind of detail sprays or anything like that. That can actually affect the bond of the adhesive. Also make sure everything is completely dry before you get started. You'll also want to make sure that you're operating above 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is put the window down and we'll start with a dry fit. All right, next what we're going to do is locate our driver's side front visor. If we flip this over, we're going to see that it has a stamping in there. It's going to say LF on it for left front. That's how we know we've got the right one. What we're going to do to dry fit it is we're going to set it in place. We're going to take a plastic pry tool. We want to pry back this portion of the door, because it's actually going to fit behind there. So once that fits into place, we're going to raise it up and take note of where the adhesive is. So this adhesive is what's going to hold it in place up against the inside of that window jamb. So it's not going to go in between the rubber and the door jamb. It's going to go inside that channel itself, right where the window slips up in there. So that's going to slide up into place. We're going to raise that up. And as we raise it up, we're going to make sure that this edge here goes between the frame of the mirror and the door itself here. So we're going to take our pry tool and pry that back and slip that up into there and slide that in place. Double check, make sure everything is lined up properly, and now we can go ahead and pull it back out. And we're going to clean the inside of that window jamb. Your kit will include some alcohol prep pads. You're going to want to use those to clean out the inside of that window jamb. Now you want to also make sure you're focusing on the part that the adhesive is sticking to. That's what has to be cleaned, and it has to be cleaned thoroughly. Now, yes, they do include the alcohol prep pads. I will typically also use a little bit of extra alcohol. Just 91% rubbing alcohol is all it takes. You can get it just about any convenience store or grocery store. And what you're going to want to do is fit it up in there and make sure that the area that adhesive is hitting is completely cleaned out. And when you bring it out, if you've got any black still on there, it's not clean enough. So you want to keep going until wipe through where it's clean. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take our visor and we're going to peel away about 2 inches off of either side. Now, when we peel that away, we want to pull that kind of in a downward direction, because when we fit it up in, we want that vinyl red backing to be facing down so we can still grab a hold of it and pull on it. So we're going to pull down both sides. Now, as you're doing this, make sure you are not touching the adhesive with your fingers, because that will weaken the bond. And we're going to start on the back side. So again, we're going to get the pry tool in there, get that set in place. We want to try to keep that adhesive off of the rubber up top until we want it to make contact. So we're going to bring that up and bring it over here on this side, pry that back, and then slide that up into place. Once it's all the way up in place on both sides, and go ahead and pull it into the channel so the adhesive can make initial contact. Then we're going to hold that in place as we peel away the vinyl backing. All right, now with it in place, we can go ahead and slowly put up the window. Now there's a trick to that. So as we put up these windows on these Ford vehicles specifically, Ford has a system called bounce back. So if it senses any kind of resistance, it thinks that maybe there's a finger in there and it brings the window back down. So what we're going to do, turn on the vehicle, and what we're going to do is slowly put the window up. All right, now the switch to put up the window is actually kind of a two-stage switch. So if you kind of pull it all the way, it'll start going up all by itself. We don't want it to go up by itself, so what we're going to do is just kind of bump the switch just a little bit. When it reaches up to the top, what we want to do is kind of pull out on the visor and let the window go up all the way up into the jamb. Now, if the window goes all the way up and then bounces back down, just push it back up in there. You just want to go nice and slow with it, otherwise it will just bounce back down. Now that it's up in there, we're going to want to leave it in place for about 24 hours, actually at least 24 hours. If it's a little colder outside, you probably want to go further than that, but 24, actually up to 72 hours. Okay, so back at the rear window, what we're going to do, pretty much the same type of installation. Let me go ahead and flip this around and show you. We've got LR is written here, stamped in here for left rear. And we're going to go ahead and dry fit this one as well. So we're going to start with the front side of the window frame. We're going to kind of peel that back, open up a little bit of gap there, and then slide that piece in. And then this portion with the tape is going to fit up into the window jamb. So we're going to bring that up and set it in place and make sure everything looks good. All right, let's go ahead and bring it back down. And now we can go ahead and take note of the areas that need to be cleaned out thoroughly with our alcohol. Again, you can use the provided alcohol prep pad. I like to use some 91% alcohol because there's a lot more of it. And I want to make sure that it's thoroughly cleaned out. And remember, our primary focus is the portion of the channel that the adhesive is going to stick to. Next, what we're going to do is, you'll notice on this, it's a little bit different. We've got one continuous piece of tape here and then a smaller piece right down here. We're going to completely remove the smaller piece, and then the larger piece we're going to peel back 2 inches from either side, kind of like what we did on the front window. And make sure that red vinyl is pulled down so we can grab it once we have it up into the jamb. All right, and again, what we're going to do is pull this back, bring this up into place, make sure we're lined up on the back side as well, and then go ahead and bring that in. Try to make sure that you're not contacting the channel before it's ready to go in. All right, once it is all up in place, you can go ahead and press in to make contact with the adhesive. And we can go ahead and peel away the vinyl. Now we can go ahead and start putting the window back up. Again, we just want to kind of bump it up a little bit at a time. Once we get kind of close, another thing that I like to do on this rear portion where it's not physically wedged in behind the frame is I like to take a piece of the cardboard box that this came out of and use that as a little bit of a shim to go kind of in between the window and the visor as I'm lifting it up. So as I bring that up, almost about to contact, so I'm going to take this piece and set it in place. While the windows are kept up, make sure you don't wash your truck or use any kind of cleaners that might weaken the bond of that 3M adhesive. Also, while your windows are up, the window jamb will be learning new memory of where that window is supposed to be. So the longer those windows are up, the better chance you're going to have that the memory forms, so you don't have to worry about the bounce back feature from Ford. Once that's done, you can go ahead and put your windows down. You can remove your cardboard shim, and that concludes the installation. If you have any questions, call the experts or visit us online.